Sometimes it's hard to make global statements about how do you sum up his whole life. Everything that he does philosophically, it's always oriented toward criticizing thoughts. Throughout his whole life, Wittgenstein is going to be obsessed with this idea of how to think properly. He wants to be able to tell the difference between what's good intellectual activity versus poor intellectual activity. I'm going to call it the rules for assertion. When they say something, when they want to prove something, when they want to establish something. This is a conventional picture about assertion. Somebody says something, and there's going to be a philosopher that's going to check it, kind of like the referee. In other words, the philosopher is going to be calling fouls. Do you have to go to a philosopher for these things? I mean, you go to the lawyer to know the law. You need to go to the philosopher. Does it have to be checked by the philosopher first? Early on, Wittgenstein has this idea where the philosopher sort of is like an authoritarian, going to tell you whether you can speak. That silence is going to be required in certain cases. You must have a proposition of the right type and form when you've committed nonsense and when you haven't committed nonsense. Now, Wittgenstein is going to have this idea where what you need is not so much a philosopher, you need a therapist to prod around and make sure you've caught the sense of expression, that your grammar isn't knotted, that you have proper assertability conditions. And so Wittgenstein is going to have this conception that says philosophy isn't argumentation. The philosopher is a therapist, therapy for assertion. And what he thinks philosophy should be more like is it is more like art rather than science. You've got to be a clever thinker to be a good philosopher. The behavior of science is one of theory. The behavior of art is one of having a perspicuous representation of something that allows one to see its connections. This is very important, because in art, people get good. Some people are better than others, just like in math. It's seeing connections, seeing significance. That whatever brain skills, whatever cognitive traits cause that, that's what makes you good at philosophy. So Wittgenstein is trying to give us a better way to be intelligent.
What makes your take on this subject different?
I see Wittgenstein as being really nothing other than thinking skills, being acute in certain intellectual maneuvers, the father of post-analytic thinking. If you want to be a Wittgensteinian, you want to be really good at post-analytic thinking. That's my thesis.
See more of Dr. Wilson's lectures here.
Go to SeanWilson.us.